The views expressed on this program are not those of IntellectualRadio.com, its subsidiaries, or sponsors. Encouraging, educating, and empowering you into action. This is Warriors Talk with your host, Lady ReShell.
Hello. Welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. It is Money Making Monday, and our topic for today is the 6-month home buying challenge. We are live on Intellectual Radio. We just heard from the Drive at 5 with Roman. Keep it locked right here on Intellectual Radio and allow us to feed your brain. On the last episode of Warriors Talk, I spoke with Doc Michelle, and we discussed the importance of knowing your blood type. Go over to YouTube, type in Intellectual Radio, and stay connected for any episodes of Warriors Talk that you may have missed. The quote of the day is, "Owning a home is a keystone of wealth, both financial affluence and emotional security." We are grateful for our sponsor. We have Pastor Michael Richardson with the Emanuel C.O.G.I.C, who has a special message for us.
Greetings, I am Pastor Michael Richardson.
And I am First Lady Anastasia Richardson from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We're located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois. We are building upon a solid foundation.
And we're inviting you to join us every Sunday morning on Facebook Live at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C at 10:15 Central Standard Time. And you can also view our videos on our YouTube channel at Emanuel C.O.G.I.C-MR. Once again, this is Pastor Michael Richardson
and First Lady Anastasia Richardson, and we're from the Emanuel Church of God in Christ. We are building upon a solid foundation.
Here are your trending topics for today. According to CNN, the Biden administration announced last week that the 4 million N95 masks, which are coming from the Strategic National Stockpile, will be distributed to pharmacies and community health centers, with the program expected to be fully up and running by early February. The masks are arriving at their destinations and accompany flyers and signage from the Department of Health and Services, which paid for the mask. Mask up and maximize your protection, the flyer says, encouraging Americans to help slow down the spread of COVID by protecting yourself and those around you. Those are your trending topics for today. If you are tuned in on any form of social media, please like, share the show, invite someone else in on the show so they can get this valuable information. My special guest today is a Milwaukee native who has transformed her education and career around real estate. She is a real estate broker in 4 states, which includes Wisconsin, Georgia, Florida, and Illinois. She is a real estate instructor, real estate investor, coach, mentor, trainer, keynote speaker, author, a new real estate developer, and so much more. Welcome back to Warriors Talk, Tamairo Moutry. Hey, Tamairo.
Hello. It's been a while.
It has.
I'm so glad to be back on here with you and everyone else. I hope you had a happy New Year, great Christmas, and again, I'm happy to be back.
Yes, I'm excited. Happy New Year's to you as well. MyLeah is already on. She says she's excited about tonight and she's ready to take some notes. So they are ready. Yes, I'm excited.
Good.
So we're talking about the 6-month home buying challenge. And I feel like this is a great time to be challenged right now. It's the beginning of the year. We already know that tax season is right up on us. So I think this is a perfect time to just start this challenge. So if you're even thinking about, wanting to purchase a home, this is the time to do it.
Exactly. I am right there with you. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to share this information with everyone who is here because this is so important. I could tell you a bunch of stories about why it's so important for you to own your own home, because the first thing I want to say is that that is your way to wealth. I can't say enough how much it doesn't make sense for you to not be building equity. And if you can't do it right now, then you need to start taking those steps to be able to do it within the next 6 months. We go out and we do a whole lot of different things and spend our money on a lot of different things, but we need to make sure that we are creating a legacy for our family members. And a lot of people don't think about that, or they think that, hey, the way to go is to be a renter. But one thing's for sure, if you're renting from a landlord, you definitely cannot build equity that way. And some people don't know what equity is. And what equity is the difference between what you paid for the property and what type of appreciation your property will have in the near and the future, current and the future. The future the time goes on. And as the market goes up, your property value goes up. And that puts you in a position for you to pay off credit cards. It puts you in a position to maybe pay off a car note. You can use that money as well for you to be able to start your own business. There's so many things that you can do with using the equity in your home for you to be able to better yourself, better your future, and also leave stuff behind for your family and create that legacy, as I said before.
I totally agree with you. For those of us who are renting and we are thinking about buying, I feel like this is a great time to have this conversation. So my first question, Tamairo, is how did you even come up with this 6-month challenge? Like, what was going on through your mind, or, business wise, that you would come up with this challenge for individuals?
Well, I just know that sometimes for a lot of people, the process is not overnight. So with that being said, I thought I would give people 6 months to start getting everything together, to learn from the beginning what it is that they should be doing to at least prepare themselves so that at the end of that 6 months, they're actually ready to be able to purchase. So that's why I'm here today, to tell you what I feel is necessary for you to start on your journey for the next 6 months, for you to be able to reach that next milestone.
And who do you think should be actually joining this 6-month challenge? Like,
actually, it could be for anybody. I mean, there could be investors on the line that might be interested in finding out how they should move forward, because there are different loan programs for investors, but the main audience would be for first timers. Those people who are still renters, they may be on the fence, not really understanding what they need to do to be able to get to the next level, for them to even be able to be put in a position to do this. And one of our biggest myths around this home buying arena is that you have to have a 720 credit score to be able to purchase, or if you're in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you can't buy a home. And there's a lot of people that don't know a lot of certain things. So I'm here to debunk some myths and tell you what paperwork you need to get together, how much down payment you should be working towards, what your credit scores need to be to get started. And if they're not there, maybe a couple of tips and tricks about what you need to do to improve it so you can get where you need to be.
I will say, and I probably can speak for other people, is that this process is intimidating. It really is intimidating when you think about like everything that it entails. And I think a lot of people get discouraged, when you hear, okay, this is exactly what you need to do. And pretty much, your situation. So it's just like, that's going to be a lot of work. So I think a lot of people, not a lot, but some people shy away from the process because they feel like it's not obtainable.
And you are correct with that. But what I usually say to individuals is this situation and this milestone for any and everyone who should be doing it is just too important for you to give up. It's too important for you to not keep going. We've had many challenges in our lives, and a lot of us are nothing. We're on the Warriors Talk Show, so we are all some warriors. And there's a reason behind the reason why we're warriors. That means because we'll never give up, and we have to keep going until we obtain those goals. And if there's a business that you want to try to open up, or you want to decide to become an investor and you want to start buying investment properties, this is the way to go. Reason being, that's how I got started. I got started from my own primary residence, and I knew nothing about nothing way back in 1999. And yeah, I know I might look a little bit older, but I'm not that young, and I'm not that old either. But back then I bought my first house, and I was able to pull out, I believe, within 6 months of each other in 2003 and 2004, I was able to pull out, I want to say, at least $32,000 to $60,000 out of that property. But you can't do that if you're a renter. What did I do with the money? I used that for down payments for more investment properties. And what that ended up doing was putting me in a position where I was able to leave my teaching position. So I was an elementary school teacher when I first got started. And I bought enough properties that exceeded my teaching income. And then I left my job. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, that's the way to do it, is become a homeowner first. Let your equity build, and you can pull cash out of that house.
Kenya agrees. She said it can be overwhelming. It can be. And I think this is why we're doing the show, so that the information can be broken down to you, so that you know what each steps entails, and you know what work you need to do to get to that point. So yeah, I totally agree.
So, but we don't let it get to us though, because we have to understand why we are doing this. Yes, it might be intimidating. It might be tedious, but again, we understand why we need to do this is because, again, we're not building any equity, paying somebody else's mortgage. You can add up over the years how much you have already paid out to your landlord. And trust me, it is not pretty. There's a lot of times you might want to have pets and your landlord said you couldn't have pets. There's a lot of times that you might get yelled at by your landlord by something you wanted to do and they said you couldn't. You need to have your own freedom and your own property where you can do what you want to do on your property. So that's another reason why you should be thinking ahead, saying to myself that I don't want to keep going through this and I don't want my rent to keep going up. You have to think about all those things when you start saying, oh, well, yeah, this process is intimidating. Well, guess what? There's a whole lot more things in life that are intimidating. And if you can deal with the rest of life, you can deal with this. So with that being said, our first step is you need to make sure that you know what your credit scores are. I would say that's the first step because most people don't know or they don't know what the scores need to be. So with that being said, you need to know what those scores are. So I have a couple of websites and some of this is a repeat from last year and that's fine because I will keep reiterating what I said last year and the year before that and the year before that until you get it and understand that these are the things you need to do to get to that portion so that you can get pre-approved to buy your home. So we got www.creditchecktotal.com and they merged with Experian. So if you're on Experian, you don't need to go to their website, but www.creditchecktotal, that's all one word, .com. That's one website to check your scores. The second website is www.scoresense, SCORESENSE.com. You can get your scores there. It's not a hard pull. When you pull it yourself, it's a soft pull, obviously, and you can see where you stand at this point.
Okay.
Thank you. That up there for me.
No problem. I was putting your step 1 up there. I just copied it out of the group. So just mention the group so that anybody that wants to join, they'll know where to go for the challenge.
That sounds fantastic. I have a Facebook group. It is called the 6-Month Home Buying Challenge. I don't care what state you're in. Anyone can join because the tips are in that group and you can ask questions. Now, no matter what stage you're at, but I'm trying to find out where everyone is. And for those 6 months, hopefully at the end of the 6 months home buying challenge, you'll be ready to actually purchase and you'll have a pre-approval letter in hand. Some of you will have it before the 6 months, but that's the time frame that I work with everyone to help you in case you need to save and things like that. So that first step is checking your credit scores. Please don't let people tell you that you need a 720. Your middle credit score needs to be 580, but on those sites, when you pull your credit scores, those sites, they tend to sometimes be a little bit higher or lower than what the lender pulls. So with that being said, I like to see people to have all their scores in the 600s just to be safe. But if you do have a middle credit score of 580, you definitely are on the right track. And if you don't, there's some things that you can do to get your scores up. I do have another group called Tamairo's Credit Clinic. Tamairo's Credit Clinic. That also will help you to get your scores raised. And this is all part of the process for people whose scores are not where they need to be right now. And you need to definitely have some money saved up. If you know you're getting tax money back, this is your surefire way in. Please, people, don't blow your tax money. Don't do that. Get this money together so that can be your down payment and your upfront costs and some of your closing costs for your mortgage loan for you to buy your home. Now, I don't have to be doing this, okay? I am trying to empower people. No matter what race, creed, color you are, any of that, I'm trying to help all people understand how important homeownership is for everyone in this whole entire country. You do deserve a place to live, but if you're paying rent, there's no doubt in my mind that you can also pay a mortgage. So please don't blow your tax money. Find out how much you're getting back. I'd like to see people with at the very least $5,000. If you can get up to $7,000 and $10,000, then you're way ahead of the threshold that most lenders like to see. They like to see stability from you. So for people who haven't been saving and you have non-sufficient funds in your account and you are overdrafting, that doesn't look good to a lender. They ask for the last 3 months of your bank statements when they start pulling your documents, which is where I'm going to go into the next section.
So I had a question about the credit score. Checking your credit, like what are we looking for? So we're pulling the credit. What exactly are we looking for? And how can we boost that score? Like how long does it take to boost the score if we need to, if we don't want to go with that 580?
Okay, so remember, and it's a lot of people who think that your middle score is the score that's in the middle. Nope, that's not it. We have a high, low, and a middle. People, please don't go off of Credit Karma. One more time. Don't go off of Credit Karma. First off, they only give 2 scores. In order for you to know what your middle credit score is, you need to pull all 3. Those 2 websites will give you all 3. And there's other sites out there too as well. You probably know about Identity IQ. That's another one. I'll tell you one that really is almost identical to what the lenders will pull, but it can be a little bit more expensive. But if you don't mind, it's myfico.com, MYFICO, myfico.com. You'll get what the lender pulls on that platform. The other 2 platforms I mentioned, they only charge you $1 to sign up. I'm sure myfico.com is a lot more expensive. However, it breaks everything down and it shows you your FICO 8 score, which is what the lenders pull. So when you pull your scores and you look at them, you're going to be looking for, number one, errors on your credit report that you need to turn around and dispute. The disputes, sometimes they make your scores go up once you can get those off. And you shouldn't be paying any collections off. Again, in Tamairo's Credit Clinic, my group, I walk people through the process, and I have templates in there of different letters that you can send the credit bureau if you decide to go that route, or to use the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, to get those off of there. And if you must and it doesn't work, then you need to do a pay for delete. That's pretty much entailing you to pretty much call in and ask the creditor to delete that trade line, that collection, like it was never there. But trust me when I tell you, you really don't owe these collection agencies because you've never done any business with them. Okay.
I have a question. So I heard that you cannot be in dispute while you're in the process of trying to purchase a house. Like, is that going to spill over into me when I'm trying to get the house? Like, because I know it's a waiting period while you're disputing.
So that's a part of the reason why we're doing this 6 months ahead of time, so that you can take care of all of these disputing. This is why this is part of the process for you to start working on all of this now, so you can start fighting these collection agencies back if it's anything on there that's erroneous, so you can start removing those things so that this won't be an issue at the time. Because you are right. They hate to see disputes on your credit report when you're trying to get pre-approved to buy a home. In fact, it won't even work, and it will actually kick you back out of the system if you are trying to get pre-approved. And if that shows up, if you have any disputes, it kind of messes with your scores and it messes with the algorithm and everything. So they will not allow you to move forward until those disputes are closed or they're satisfied. And then you also asked about what you can do to improve the scores. And one of those things is, and this is one of the easiest tricks in the book, and don't say I never tried to help you, because I'm giving you some $3 million game right here. People have been doing this for years and they have not stopped it. It's not illegal, but you can piggyback on someone else's credit card. One more time, you can piggyback off of someone else's credit card, and that is called you being added as an authorized user on someone else's credit card. Being an authorized user, that is the quickest way to boost your score. In the past, people have been told to go and get a secured credit card, but I'll explain to you guys why a secured credit card, what the differences are between a secured credit card and being an authorized user on someone else's card, provided it's the correct one.
I have a question before you go into the secure card. I have a question. Has there been a time where they have asked them to you need to remove yourself from piggybacking off of somebody else's card?
Yes. And for one reason that might be, it could be because either that person has went over the threshold of that 30% available credit. You are not supposed to be going above 30%. 10% is optimal, and they don't need to have any lates. Once they start going up over that threshold and getting to 50% and 60% of their available limit, what that does is that actually drops your scores. So you want to make sure that if you are going to do this piggyback method, aka authorized user, you're going to ask someone that you know, friend, family member, whatever, to ask, can you become an authorized user? They will get the card at their address. You can tell them to cut the card up. You do not want the card, but it will come on your credit report, and all of the good credit history will report on your credit as history. And that is the reason why a secure credit card does not work as well as an authorized user would, because you are putting money on a card to build credit for yourself with a secured credit card. I'm not telling you not to do it, but what I am saying is the better method is you being on a secured credit, on a authorized user card with someone else. You have to build your history on that secured credit card. So that's the reason why, and the difference between the two is that you are added, and that someone that has really good credit, all that good history is going to reflect back on you, and that could boost your scores between 40 and 120 points.
Wow, that's a lot. Wow. Okay, so step 1 was pull your credit, check your scores, make sure. She gave you 4 different sites actually, where you can go and check your credit, pull all 3 of them so you'll know where you stand and what you need to do. And if you have to do the legwork to contact in some of these companies, do the legwork so that you can resolve it before they pull your credit. All right, so step number 2. And again, we're talking about, this is the home buying challenge. This is a 6-month home buying challenge for those of us who are thinking about purchasing a home or just curious about the process.
Okay. I think we are on step 3. I might not have said step 2, but we are step 3 now. Because I think the first step was
Yep.
Okay.
Step 2 was to join your credit clinic.
Okay.
So yep, we did step 2.
Okay, so now step 3, we had started into talking about making sure that you have that money saved. We need, and that's up there. We need at least $5,000 or more. The more, the merrier, because the better you look to them on paper, the more stable you look to them. They look to see, have you been saving? They look to see if, something were to happen, if you were to lose your job or whatever, could you afford to pay your mortgage for 2 or 3 months? They like to see that you have reserves. That's what that's called. When you have extra money, it's called reserves after closing. They want to make sure that you have, enough money in case something were to happen. So the more, again, the merrier. You can pull 401k funds for down payment. You can also get what's called a gift from a family member. Any of your family members, if they're immediate, they can give you what's called a gift of equity. And there's a form that the lender will give you in order for that to happen, to help with your costs. And these are the things that a lot of times people don't know that they can do to help get their down payment. The money needs to be sourced and seasoned for 60 days in your bank account. I'm talking about your own personal money. And what that means is the source is where did it come from? The seasoning is how long it's been sitting there. No Nunu and Juju can come and just drop money in your account. They don't go for that. They want to know where that money came from. Did it come from a 401k? Did it come from your tax return? And of course, you'll have documentation to show where your down payment money came from if you are getting a return back, because you'll have proof of that. But you can't just drop money in there, because they're going to source it. They're going to want to know where it came from. And that is a huge portion of this process. So make sure you have your money together. Make sure you're sourcing it properly. Please, no NSFs, non-sufficient funds notices from the last 3 months. They're going to ask for 3 months of bank statements. So please be careful with that. They don't like to see that. Anyone who has been out of a bankruptcy for 2 years, you're able to qualify. It's 2 years after your discharge date. It's 1 year after a Chapter 13. 2 years is if you've been in the 7. 1 year if you've been in the 13 and you're out. 1 year after your discharge date for a 13, you can purchase. If you are inside of a Chapter 13, let's say you were in it for 5 years, you are able to purchase a home. As long as your score is a 580, you are still able to purchase a home inside of a Chapter 13 if you have consistently paid on time for at least 12 months. And I know you probably didn't know that, but even if you did or didn't know, you should be passing this information along to people who might be in a situation that didn't know. I don't know how many people that I've spoken to who have said, Jane Doe and John Doe told me because I'm in bankruptcy that I couldn't qualify. That's not true. You just need to provide a little bit more documentation, and you need to get permission from your trustee and the attorney, and they'll help you get the paperwork you need. And of course, it needs to be a major benefit to you in order for you to purchase.
Kenya said great information, and I totally agree. I did have a question. The person if the person that's giving you money, I heard that they actually look at their bank account too to see where that money was pulled from. Is that true?
That's correct. What they're going to do is they're going to actually ask for proof that that money actually came from your mom or your dad. They're going to ask for a statement to show where it came out. So that's the documentation that they'll ask for with that gift letter. So yeah, you have to be careful with that too as well. And the other thing is a lot of people, when they get in the process of buying a home, sometimes the loan officers don't reiterate enough where certain money should come from. And I just had a deal that didn't come together because of that. You putting a bunch of stuff on credit cards, the credit scores dropping in the middle of the process. And when it was time to close, the woman's score was a 530 because she was putting her earnest money on her credit cards. It dropped her scores over 100-some points. So these are things that you need to know up front. In the next live that I do, hopefully we'll talk about the do's and the don'ts of this process so that we're not kind of shooting ourselves in the foot while we're trying to go through this process, and we get excited and get moving, and then you start doing all the wrong things like buying stuff during the process and get your credit pulled by a bunch of different industries. That's a no-no. So we'll get to that another time.
Wow. Kenya said banks are still accepting them with a 580 credit score. Is that a question or a statement, Kenya? I'm not sure if that was a question or a statement.
I don't know if it was a question or not, but if it was a question, then yes, that they still are accepting at a 580. Yes.
Yeah, she said question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they are with 3.5% down. And just so you know, there's another program. If the credit score is a 640, you need to write this down. This is real important. This is a program called the Chinoa Loan. It's spelled Chenoa. The Chinoa Loan, that's 100% financing. No money down. Now, you still need your upfront money for your upfront costs, and you need closing cost money. Because remember, there's money that you need for each portion of this process. It's upfront money, it's your down payment, and it's your closing costs. The closing costs are not the seller's responsibility, it's the buyer's responsibility. However, in our offers, when we write them, when real estate professionals write the offers, we do try to ask if the seller will help with those costs, because we know how costly it can be for some houses when you try to purchase. So this is kind of important.
So is all of that included in that down payment, or is that in addition to?
It's separate. Yeah, it's separate, which is why I was saying from the beginning, everyone should try to save as much as possible. Because what if we're in a competition? And that's what this market has been.
Yes.
We've been in a competition where there's a bunch of people like ReShell and me and all these other people out here trying to buy the same house. And we're in a bidding war. And maybe your bid may not be higher, but maybe the seller will look at your offer and say, well, ReShell decided not to ask me to pay for any of her closing costs, so I'm going to take this offer over the one that said, well, I need $3,000 in help. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're in such a competitive market today. We want to try to make our offers look the very best to these sellers. So with that being said, hey, if you're a veteran, you automatically can get 100% financing. There's another program called the USDA. And if you buy in outskirts of the city, it's like a rural loan. And with believe it or not, with a 580 credit score, you also can get 100% financing. There's a map online, and you need to look this up. Just type in the USDA map. That map will let you know the outlying areas where you are, and it'll tell you the areas that will service USDA. And all you have to do when you get ready to get pre-approved is say you want a USDA loan, and they also go down to a 580 score. Wow. 400%.
Hey, Lisa, thank you for joining us. MyLeah said, is the Chinoa loans helpful for buying land to build a home or for a prefabricated home? Or is it just...
It's only for freestanding that I know of. And you can only do it for 1 to 2 units. You cannot use it for a multi-unit beyond 2 units. The Chinoa loan is only used for 1 and 2 units, for a single family or a duplex. No triplexes and no fourplexes. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. If anyone is trying to become an investor and you don't have a really large family, you can, with an FHA loan, you can buy a 4-unit. And those rents from those other units will help you to qualify for more with your loan. So you can buy a 4-unit with an FHA loan, and it's, again, only 3.5% down. When I say 3.5% down, that's 3.5% of the purchase price. So you can calculate that on your, calculators or whatever, what 3.5% of 200,000 might be, and I believe that's 7,000. I'm not doing it on my. Don't get me wrong. Don't quote me, but I believe it's 7,000.
Brenda said, thank you for the USDA information. We're going to take a quick break because I want to hear from our sponsors. And
Okay.
we're going to hear from our sponsor. When we come back, what I want you to talk about is the actual paperwork or documentation that you have to have before you purchase a home, because that's important for us to get that information together. So we're going to hear from our sponsor, which is Affordable Book Editing Services with MyLeah Symone.
If you're looking for an affordable book editor, then look no further. I'm MyLeah Symone. I'm a freelance book editor, and I offer affordable book editing services such as proofreading and manuscript critiques. It's time to work with an editor who knows and loves stories. Head over to my website, www.myleahsymone.com, to book me today.
All right. If you are just tuning in, this is Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell, and we have Tamairo Moutry, and I call her my real estate guru. And we're talking about the 6 steps to home buying challenge. So she is challenging us today. So I hope that you guys are taking the challenge and that you are taking notes. We just went through steps number 1 through 3. And now we're on step number 4. And we're talking about the documents that you need to get together.
Okay. So we did start talking about, I did mention already those bank statements, and those bank statements, they ask for the last 3 months. And you probably ask, well, why are they asking for 3 months of bank statements? Number one, they're asking for those bank statements to see how well you save. And if you don't have much money in the bank, that's fine. But what's going to look even better for you is if you're getting a tax refund back, because they'll be asking for that too, to find out where your down payment is coming from. And that is going to be extremely helpful to people that may not have a lot of money saved. Don't get me wrong. Everybody is not able to always save a lot of money because, number one, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And nobody is going to look at you any differently or no kind of way because you might only have $1,800 in the bank or whatever, because it's been hard for a lot of people. Okay. So just do the best you can, save as much as you can. Even if you have to eat noodles and noodles, you know how important this is for you to become a homeowner. Mm-hmm. Do what you need to do to save. And those 3 months, they're looking at that. They're making sure that, again, you're stable and you're not overdrafting and you're not, you have insufficient funds and things like that. They want to see how much money you have saved. So that's the reason for the bank statements, and to look to see if you have your down payment and your upfront costs and things like that. Okay. That's one of the things. The other thing is they ask for your most 2 recent pay stubs. Of course, it's going to depend on how you get paid. Some people, they may work at a nonprofit and they only get paid monthly. Some people get paid once every 2 weeks. Some people, they get paid every week. So sometimes they may say, we want all your pay stubs within the last 30 days. Sometimes that still ends up only being 2 pay stubs if you get paid twice a month. So they ask for your most 2 recent pay stubs, and they ask for your W-2 forms. And if you cannot find those W-2 forms, or they got mailed to you and you can't find them, misplaced them, then you need to call your job back. Because some people switch jobs. You know, you get better pay and you switch jobs. You need to call the HR department or call back that employer and ask them to send you a duplicate right away. So make sure you have that together. And in your actual tax return, your last 2 years, those also need to be sent in because they're going to ask you for that. They're going to ask you for your driver license. They're going to ask you for your social security card. Oh, here's some more important stuff. They also ask for any child support orders and child support paperwork, and also social security income. Did you know that a person that's on social security can still buy a home? There's a lot of people that don't know that. Please don't let people think because you're disabled that you can't buy a home. It's not impossible. You just have to have the right people to speak to. But you can with a fixed income and with social security income. Even if you have to have somebody else go on the loan with you, with social security income, you still can purchase. If your child receives SSI benefits, or if you receive those benefits, that income can also be used. They'll want an award letter, an SSI award letter. They'll want court-ordered child support order. And of course, that probably will show on the bank statements where you have actual child support coming in. That also helps you to qualify for your loan.
Yeah, it adds to that income.
Absolutely.
So,
Two jobs can be worked too.
but you have to be on it. Don't you have to be on it at least 2 years or?
Yes.
So if
So
you don't switch a job in the middle of you trying to get the house, just wait it out.
you can switch jobs, but let's hope you switch in a job where the pay is better, and try to, as much as you can, stay in the same industry. Some lenders don't like when you switch industries. That's just, and if you think about it, that kind of does make sense. They just don't like to see a lot of jumping around because, again, they're looking for people who are stable. They're looking for stability. So, ReShell, you might have been on your job for 4 years and you decided maybe you got another job offer, but it was in the same field that you were in and your pay went up. That's fine. But if you're taking a pay cut, that's going to be, it could end up being problematic depending on the type of, the amount of the home that you're trying to buy, because remember, they look at your debt ratio and everything too. That happened to my cousins. They were in the middle of a deal just a couple of months ago, and he actually lost his job in the middle of the transaction. But he's so marketable that he was able to pick up something else right away that was either the same pay or higher in pay. So it didn't really disturb their process.
So you have to make sure it's within that same field. What if you've been on your job for like 20 years and you decided to go into a totally different field, and it's more money, but you have that stable history of employment?
They don't really care about that as much as they care about large job gaps. Okay. If you have a job gap longer than like 3 or 4 months, or I heard that some of the lenders were waiving the COVID leave. Some people had to, were off because of COVID, and they were not holding that against people, because that, if you think about it, that's kind of wrong for them to hold the COVID situation against you. If, let's say, you've been on a job 3 years and all of a sudden you had to be laid off due to COVID and you didn't pick up something else right away, they're not really holding that against people as much. So that's a really important thought. And for people who work 2 jobs consistently, you need to be working both of them for 2 years in order for them to consider that income. So you can't just get a job, have a job for 4 years and then pick up another job and say, hey, I need you to include this income too. No, they need to see that you're consistently been working that job the same amount of time as your last job, at least 2 years or longer.
Now, when they're gathering all of this information, all of these documentations, they're going off of our gross, right? Not our net, because some people may not know that they're going off of that gross.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, when I ask them, I try to pre-approve and pre-qualify my people up front. And one of the reasons I do that is because I'd like to try to stop them before they go to a lender, get a hard pull, and then they get denied or declined for some reason. So I ask them all the preliminary questions up front. And with that being said, a lot of them say, I bring home this, and that's not what they use. They're looking at the gross, not your net, which is what you bring home. They're not looking at that. They want your gross. And they actually gross up your any Social Security benefits. They actually gross it up 1.15 for FHA or 1.25. So it makes the income look a little bit larger due to the cost of living increases. So again, please don't think that SSI income or disability income cannot be used towards helping you to purchase a home. It's very helpful.
All right, so we're on step number 5 in the home buying challenge. And I think this is important because a lot of people may, we have a lot of entrepreneurs out here and they may not know what to do.
Okay. So self-employment. Self-employment is a whole different, it's a whole different ball of wax, people. And I know this might sound like everybody is out to get us. And it seems like they are. It's much more difficult for people like us, and I'm going to say us because I'm an entrepreneur. It's more difficult for us to qualify because you're trying to get your taxes done and you don't want to owe the IRS. So you're doing your taxes and you might have too many write-offs. Here is my best advice to self-employed individuals. You need to make sure that if you know you're going to buy a house, the preceding 2 years, you need to make sure that you take less write-offs. Because you can't be grossing $100,000 a year and then your accountant saying that you only made $19,999 and think you're going to get a $300,000 house. That's not going to cut it for you. It just won't work. So be careful about that. And there are so many people that have been so upset for getting declined or denied the type of loan that they want due to them not having enough income to show when their taxes are done. And I know you don't want to owe. I got that. But when it's time for you to want to purchase, you better make all the money you can and you better show as much as you can. And even if you do have to owe, I'm going to just say this, and it might sound asinine, but even if you have to owe, so what? The benefits far outweigh you being a renter any day, all day, every day. I'm sorry. We have to do what we need to do to get what we want. So there are some programs out there for self-employed individuals if you don't want to do the taxes or if it's too late. Oh my God, Tamairo, my taxes have already been done. It shows that I made $19,999, but I really made $80,999. So what do I do now? Well, here we have it. There's a bank statement loan program. And the bank statement loan program, they have the 12 and the 24-month bank statements. And what they're doing is adding up all of your deposits for those 12 or 24 months, and they're coming up with an average, and that's how they get your income. Sounds great? Right. However, they also make you put more money down. So be ready for that. You're going to have to pay anywhere from 10 to 20% down if you do it the bank statement way. And keep in mind, if you're doing bank statements, it's a higher risk for the lender. The lender is going to also say that your credit scores need to be higher. Some lenders will yell 720. And that could be where some people have been getting, mixed communication there. With the bank statement loan, some lenders may go down to 680 or 660, but more importantly, I've been hearing 680, 720 for you to put 10% down. Keep in mind, the more bank statements you can offer, the better the terms, the better the interest rate, and you're able to put down 10% more than likely. The lower the score, the more riskier it is, the higher your interest rate, and the higher your down payment. So be careful with that.
All right. So we're talking about the 6-month home buying challenge. We just went through steps 1 through 5, which step number 1, she talked about pulling your credit, checking for errors and doing any type of homework you need to do on there. Step 2 would be to join the Tamairo's Credit Clinic on Facebook. Just look her up. And the third step was to save as much money as you can so that you have less issues when you have money that you can deal out and you don't have to go borrowing from anybody. Because when you borrow, you have to have that documentation. You have to have that paper trail when you get some type of money from somebody, any type of gift. So step number 4 was get all those documents together, your bank statement, your W-2s, your check stubs. And step number 5, if you are self-employed, make sure that you also have the documentation together. And she's saying that all hope is not lost if you're self-employed. You just got to speak to the right person. So we're on step number 6 in the home buying challenge. And step number 6, Tamairo,
is going to be reach out to me privately. Make sure you have followed me on my business pages too. I have several groups and several business pages on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on You can look me up on YouTube too if you are interested in investing too. You can type my name in and listen to all the podcasts that I've been on. Facebook is my jam. I stay on Facebook all the time. So make sure, ladies, if you're a lady, join my group called Top Women in Real Estate. Any questions that you have, you can reach out to me in any of those groups. A 6-month home buying challenge, Tamairo's Credit Clinic, or Top Women in Real Estate. Follow me on my personal Facebook page. Make sure you follow me. Even though I share to all of them, I have several pages with my name. One of them is a public figure page. You can follow that one. And again, I'm on Instagram. One more thing I wanted to piggyback off of is about that gift fund money. The gift fund money, you cannot tell them that it's being borrowed because your deal will be dead. It's supposed to be a gift. Now, if you're going to borrow it from them, you better not talk about borrowing with the lender. You deal with that outside, because they don't want to hear that. So just make sure that you are documented properly. And the other big thing is do everything that your loan officer asks you to do. Let me tell you one last point. Here's what you need to understand. Don't hide anything from these people because they're just like the FBI. Now, your loan officer, you can tell your loan officer anything because they can unsee stuff. But once you start getting your file over into underwriting, that's a totally different ball game. Whatever they submit over to them and you didn't tell your loan officer and something comes up, the underwriters cannot unsee that. This is very important. You got to be upfront. You know, they're going to find out everything. If they ask you if you have any tax liens or any judgments or you're delinquent in student loans, they're going to find all that stuff out. So you need to be honest, because why go through all of that and waste all your money and your deal doesn't come together and you spent money on appraisals, inspections, and later on through the title work, they find out some things that you didn't say or you didn't tell them. So be careful with all that. Just be honest. And if there's things you need to work on, do the best you can to get through them. And I'm available. You can reach out to me. I appreciate everyone who came on to listen today. And I look forward to seeing you all again.
Thank you so much, Tamairo. As always, you give us some gems. You're just a wealth of knowledge. Tracy said this is some good information. Kenya said, thanks for these helpful tips. And Tracy says integrity. So thank you so much, Tamairo. I appreciate you. I will leave you guys with these words of wisdom. Join the challenge. That is my words of wisdom for today. So thank you so much for joining me. Join me next Monday at 6 p.m. right here on Intellectual Radio. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. To find out more about Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1, on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell on YouTube. Please join us next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on IntellectualRadio.com for Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.